All right, now, really the next three sections, I think, in chapter 7 are all going to revolve around solving equations, right? That means it's going to be a statement with an equal sign in it. There's going to be a value that's unknown, that's usually represented by a variable. And then what we're going to be doing is looking at the steps that would be needed to solve that equation and find the value of the unknown variable. What would make this a true statement? That's what we're going to be trying to do. So all I'm going to be having you do for tonight is just looking at the very first step in this process, right? So we're gonna stick to simple equations right now. That means equations that can be solved essentially with just one step. And the main thing that you have to keep in mind is this rule right here. All right, any operation performed on one side of the equation. So anything you do on one side of that equal sign, you have to do the same thing on the other side of the equal sign in order to keep the equation balanced. You can think about the equal sign like a scale, and you have to keep what's on the two sides balanced. And the only way you do that is by performing the exact same operation. All right, now, in terms of what operation is needed, in order to get a term essentially to go away, right, to get rid of it, you have to perform the opposite operation. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our first equation here so that we can see what we're talking about. In this first equation, my unknown variable, what I'm trying to solve for, is this y. All right, that's the value that I don't know. And so what that means is I need to get this variable by itself, right? I need anything else that's on this side of the equal sign to go away. And right now, what I have on this side of the equal sign is minus negative, essentially, 16.01. So what I'm going to do is the opposite, right? If I've got a minus 16.01, then I'm going to add 16.01, right? Because negative 16.01 plus 16.01 would be 0, and that would make this go away. Now, I can do that, but if I do a plus 16.01 to the left-hand side of this equation, I have to do the same thing to the right-hand side of the equation as well. This is what we mean by keeping it balanced. And so what happens here, right, is on the left-hand side of the equal sign, these are 0. That's the reason we did this, and we're left with only y. On the right-hand side of the equation, I've got 8.65 plus 16.01. So when I add those two things together, and I can do that because they're like terms, then I solve for y, and I find out that y would equal 24.66. All right, and again, this is what we're doing. We're finding the value of the variable that would make the equation a true statement. All right, so let's go to our next one. The unknown variable in this case is a z. That's what we're trying to find. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at what's on the same side with z. And what's on the same side with z is a division of 1.3. So we say, okay, what is the opposite of dividing by 1.3? And that would be multiplying. We're always going to use the opposite operation. All right, so if I want to multiply by 1.3 on this left-hand side, I have to do the exact same thing on the other side to keep the balance. All right, now again, notice what's going to happen when I do that. On this side, the 1.3s are going to go. 1.3 divided by 1.3 is 1. So I'm left with just z. And on the other side, I've got 0.5 times 1.3. I simplify that, multiply those two things together, and I find out that z is equal to 0.65. That's the value of z that would make this equation a true statement. All right, so two more here. All right, so if you think about each one, again, we think about what's happening. In this one, my unknown variable is y again, and what's happening to y is it is being multiplied by -6, right? So the opposite of that would be dividing by -6. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and write this here. What I need to do is divide by -6. Notice that would leave me with just y. But if I do that to one side, I've got to do the exact same thing to the other side. All right, so notice what happens here. All right, the -6's, they're going to go. We're going to be left with just y. And then again, be careful with your signs. Notice over here you've got a negative divided by a negative. All right, that means you're going to come up with a positive value. And 39 divided by 6 is going to give me a value of y at 6.5. All right, so one more here. We've got 12 plus x is equal to 37. So our unknown variable is the x. That's what we're looking for. And what's happening to x is we are adding 12, right? Notice if there's no sign in front of a number, right, then it's positive. So what's happening to x is 12 is being added to x. So the opposite of that would mean that I need to subtract 12. That'll get x by itself. But if I subtract 12 from one side, then I also have to subtract 12 from the other side. Right? And then notice what's going to happen. 12 minus 12 is 0. That's going to go away. I'm left with just x. On the other side, 37 minus 12. So x is going to be equal to 25. All right, so this is all you're going to be doing here in these simple equations is you're going to be looking for the unknown variable. You're going to figure out what's happening to the unknown variable, what operation, is it addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and whatever it is, you're going to do the opposite of that and use that to solve for the unknown variable. So what I want you to do is I want you to go into section 7.3 and I want you to work through some of these. Just when the equation is given and you're asked, this should be like the first objective in the study plan for section 7.3, work through those, practice those, and once you're feeling pretty comfortable with that, I want you to come back and watch a second video for this section of notes where we'll walk through a couple of application problems.